Missing something in your life? Wake up with us.
Good morning.
Catch up with this morning show.
Welcome back, guys, to the Energy Breakfast Club. We're 25 minutes into the 8 a.m. hour. We have John Allan Namu in studio with us, answering questions, enlightening us, putting context and color to a lot of things that we didn't know about how the Fourth Estate operates. And that's what I want to get into. Let's now talk about the Fourth Estate. Now, I was a member. I don't know if I still am. I wouldn't call this particularly Fourth Estate-y, but yes.
Yeah.
And I think I told you the story earlier on about what my first assignment editor told me.
Yeah.
That we have reporters and then we have journalists. And he asked me, which one do you think we have more of? And I was like, we definitely have more reporters. He's like, yeah. And do you realize that there's a problem with that? So you've been in this sector. You've been a member of the Fourth Estate for, we can say, roughly 13 years. Yeah? We've all looked up to you, got in, did the thing, realized this Fourth Estate maneno right now is not what it was. Yeah? And I'm sure you can see it. 13 years in, you've been there, when I think even just growing up in Kenya, where the Fourth Estate is now is not what it was. You can tell that the plot has been lost somewhere. The ball was dropped. There's a loophole somewhere.
Yeah.
In your opinion, when did things start to change? Where did we go wrong? Where's that plot twist?
The moment we started to make advertising king in our newspapers, on TV, that's the moment for me that things started to get lost. Because at that time it became more about, let's get this product in so that we can make some chums to be able to survive. Like it's a logical question that any business owner would want to ask. How do I sustain my business? But I think what was forgotten is that journalism, good journalism, was the product to begin with. So it was kind of like the golden goose that you're asking it to lay many eggs, and then eventually you're like, let's just slip this thing open and we get all of the gold at once. So we will kind of get into that moment. The thing that's kind of getting media owners to start thinking a little differently now, or at least start to think about the mistakes they've made, is the internet, right? Information has been democratized in a way that you just can't go back anymore. It's like trying to tie down the wind. A great example is the Imperial Bank story.
Yeah.
So guys was kind of reporting on the margins of the story, and then Owa just went in and gave one hell of a blow-by-blow account of how this guy completely ransacked that bank. And people followed it. And then that's when now the mainstream kind of got on and they're like, okay, now that this thing has kind of opened up, let's get on this bus and do it together, right? But the democratization of information is changing that. The problem that you're asking about, Kamene, is really about finding the right business model that keeps content in the right place, where it's supposed to be, front and center, for the people to watch, judge, critique, and comment on and add to, right? We're in a space where journalism will add to the body of knowledge, but so will everybody else, right? So we can't be too obsessed with headlines that'll try and get people in, and maybe also advertising in because your numbers are going up. Excuse me. But you should be in the space where you're thinking about journalism from the point of view of why are these things happening? Ask some more architectural questions about what's going on in our society, and you'll find that people kind of funnel that knowledge to you after you do that. And that's been our experience also at Africa Uncensored.
And let me ask, let's just take it a step further.
Yeah.
So we see there's a problem, and you're seeing how the sector is working, but at the same time, mediums, let's call them broadcast mediums, have become exponential.
Yeah.
You don't need the TV to break news. You don't need the newspaper to break news. But at the same time, the mainstream has been commercialized. Yes, we've agreed. Does it frustrate you seeing that happening? What's your feeling when like case in point, when your story is supposed to go on air, but for one reason or the other, nope. John, my guy, thank you so much. We've been boys. You're my homie.
Yeah.
Ride or die, lakini.
Nice business.
My friend,
Yeah.
I can't. Yani, they even tell you, oh my gosh, imagine my hands are tied.
Yeah, look,
my guy, my hands are tied. How does it feel?
It feels bad. I mean, that's part of the reason that we left. That's part of the reason. We could see this coming. We saw this train coming a while back. I'd say possibly as early as 2013. Right? After the election and that peacepreneuring kind of phase that we went through as a country with journalism. Yeah. If you look back at 2007 and what happened, And then what happened in 2013 was a complete shift of the pendulum. It swung completely the other way. And journalists were on this side saying, oh, Kenya, oh, let us be peaceful, let's not fight. Who told us that we were supposed to be the referee? We were supposed to go in and report the truth, right? So definitely there's been a huge impact. And we saw this coming, and we started to prepare ourselves to kind of leave, to leave the mainstream. And it frustrates me. At the same time, I understand it. But I know that there are a lot of journalists who want to do the right thing. It's just that they're in a system that won't allow them to do so. And so the system kind of has to collapse before, we can get better journalism.
Now, speaking of, sorry.
Now, I was actually going to ask you, did you ever have to report a story that you knew was false?
Let me give you one example. Not that I knew was false, but earlier on in my career, I was forced to do a story about a certain airline that ran outside of the news during primetime advertisement. It was a 7-minute story.
What?
Because, yes.
7 minutes?
7 minutes. Because our newspaper at that time had rubbed them the wrong way for some reporting.
A 7-minute package?
Yeah, so what the guys did? They pulled out the advertising. Pulled all of the newspapers off of the airline. And then, I don't know why it fell on me to do it. Yeah, I was called into a meeting, and there was the CEO and the representative of that airline and all sorts of people. And then I was told, my guy, this is what we're going to do. You're going to do this puff piece about this. And have you ever done something and you just have like vomit over here? And you're just holding it back?
Real?
For real. That was
you had
time.
to.
I had to.
For 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
And you do know how much
outside of a news bulletin.
How much work goes into having 7 minutes?
A 7-minute, a typical news story should not pass 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
If it's a deep one, 7 minutes.
That was like an in-depth feature, my guy. But only advertising.
This guy must have been walking like a Chinese for weeks.
And this is one of the problems I think that we have with our media industry here in particular, because there's a lot of advertorials.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that in both broadcast news and within our newspapers, but it's not made abundantly clear to the reader
that it's an advertorial.
That it's not a news article. This is actually an ad.
Yeah.
So it needs some level of journalistic training to figure this out.
Yeah.
So we're actually getting so many more ads. It's the prominence of ads in our newspapers isn't just in the actual ads we see, it's in the stories as well. And there's a problem with that.
Do you know most, I learned being a news editor, that most of the stories, you'd say within the news, the business segment of the news bulletin, it's all commercial. That's how you essentially pay bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of
There's
these
a
PR
business.
agencies just write a brief and then they send it, and then these days, by the way,
So you guys are going to sum on that like it's the news.
let me
You
tell
guy,
you, when
Emma
I
Kiba.
started,
Emma Kiba is a news story, and you'll be told, by this package needs to be a 3-minute strong. You'll be told an interview will come. What are we talking about? Emma Kiba. That is business news, my friend.
When I started, like the business news guys were really fighting hard to just keep that out of their bulletin, because you'd get a brief and you're being told, okay, this and this happened. And so they're like, on the one hand, we need access to these PR guys because we want to access these guys so that we can interview them. But on the other hand, these guys are forcing these things down our throats. So PR agencies today have departments where they're just writing news and then sending it on to newspapers. And then do this one day. When there's a story about a big company that paints them in a certain light and you see it in a newspaper, go and look for the original news release from that company through their the press release. Go and read it and read word for word with the newspaper. You'd be surprised just how similar they are. That is the level of infiltration that commercial interests have in our news.
But is it their time to just check out? Has the internet come to save us?
It has come to save us in a sense, in that there's now lots of ways that you can get the right information. I think the value of journalism really is in being able to curate that information and be able to pick apart what's right, what's fact from fiction. So journalism still has a very important role, very important, because not everybody can do what journalists can do.
Do you know?
Right? And with the internet coming, we should see more of this. The problem with, well, I don't know if it's a problem, right? But because it's just the way society works. Also on the internet, you'll find the most foolish kind of nonsense that someone has just decided to pick up and write and say whatever they want.
Have you
right?
met Andrew Kibe?
Please proceed.
Yeah, I shall ignore you for that.
Wow.
I shall choose to ignore that statement. This good fellow in front of
Can
me
you
doesn't
believe
seem
it?
like I'm so surprised.
Is this happening because
Yeah.
I'm a woman?
Shame on you.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
Aki. Oh yeah, no, it's not.
Because I'm the only woman in this studio now.
You pulled that card.
Hey, that card has been pulled.
You guy.
Well,
Sorry, yes. Proceed.
No, but what I'm saying is that there's this expression, in a marketplace of ideas, the best one will always rise to the top, right? And that's kind of how the internet should work, where you'll find the best ideas. But also, it's very easy to spread lies, and lies are juicy, they're sweet, they'll go far,
Because we were actually talking about journalism.
Yeah.
And we were saying that right now, you guys who are journalists might find yourselves now having the internet as your customer, right?
Yes.
Right? No, you no longer have to go through the conventional way of putting
Exactly.
it through the newspaper.
Yeah.
You can actually just be a responsible journalist in your own capacity. You don't have to be attached to anyone.
Yeah.
Right? Now then we go to the internet and we find
guys like Alai.
Yes, guys like
You know,
Alai,
the thing
Cyprian.
is, much as I disagree with a lot of the stuff that Alai has done in the past, that Cyprian has done in the past, and presently, and a lot of these guys, I disagree with a lot of the stuff that they do. The thing that I have to say was commendable that Alai did is that he came out wazi and he said, by the way, I'm supporting these guys.
Okay.
You draw your line in the sand, and so people can know what your views are informed by, right? That's a very brave thing to do.
Okay.
You transpose that to our press, and you see a lot of, Jubilee leaning, NASA leaning articles. You really don't, you can kind of tell who's leaning where, but nobody ever says that as clearly as possible. So, to that extent, I think that what Alai did was the right thing in saying that. I don't know whether he said it, but at least you could tell that he was very clear about where his interests lay. That, by the way, I'm supporting Jubilee. These are my reasons, right? It's very important for you to be able to do those things today, because at the end of the day, that gives a person some sort of kind of anchor from where to now kind of analyze your worldview.
But my question was, is corporate going to chase us into the internet? You get my point?
Yeah.
Right? Because advertising is advertising. As long as you have the numbers, the advertisers are going to come.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? We're not talking about Robert Alai being a journalist.
Per se,
We're
yeah.
saying he has a following, right? And he says that he reports news, whatever. So anybody else, like, let's say Allan Namu decides today he's going to do a blow-by-blow reporting kind of thing.
Yeah.
Will the advertisers come for you when you get the numbers?
They might. They might come for me when I get the numbers, and that's kind of happy. You can see, like with vloggers, it's a good example, right? See, people are following This Is Us, people are following all of these vloggers, right? Because they have a certain following and they resonate with certain people. So that's how money kind of works. It'll always find a route of least resistance to be able to multiply itself. So in that way, possibly that can happen. But the reason that might be difficult for especially hard-hitting, credible journalism is that kind of journalism sometimes just chases away people who'd be like, okay, so I kind of want to associate my brand with you, but I don't know the day that you'll turn around and say, hata wewe sasa pia wewe ni mwizi. And it's a good thing, to be honest. It's good in the sense that you can have that arm's length relationship with everybody. It's bad in that it's tough to make money. It's very tough. And I'll tell you the truth. It's very hard to make money when you're trying to do the right things. But fortunately, where we're going, if it were to happen that maybe one day, say for example, Africa Uncensored gets the numbers and it gets that reputation for credible reporting, I turn and then I ask the public, would you be able to support some of our journalism? It's not working very well right now, like with The Guardian and some other places. But for other people, like the New York Times, they've been able to grow their readership and they've been able to grow their profits at a time when things are nosediving. So it can work. It can work. There's no one answer for it.
There's no one answer. I like that.
Don't miss the best moments of the biggest mornings.
Good morning. Energy. Breakfast Club.
Waking you up weekdays from 6.